Today is Friday, August 15th, and I'm just wondering, what does Cowboys longtime radio analyst Babe Laufenberg think of this year's Cowboy team?
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Eyeing retirement? We aim to turn your nest egg into a paycheck with half the amount you've been led to believe. Fluent Financial combines in-house portfolio design risk management with income-generating investments designed to aid your financial independence. Our goal is to develop an effective portfolio strategy to help you retire sooner and have a better lifestyle. Fluent Financial can also implement a program that allows business owners to install a cash balance plan, which may potentially reduce income tax payments. You've worked hard to become successful. Let us help develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you. Learn more today about Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. For more information or to schedule a meeting, visit fluentfinancial.com or call 972-852-4800.
Babe Laufenberg joins us from Oxnard, and Babe, thank you for years of friendship, for your time, and for your insights.
Oh, thank you, Norman. I will tell you, we're coming from Oxnard because you hear mowing the lawn behind me. So I apologize for all that.
Last year, the Cowboys finished well behind Philadelphia and Washington in the NFC East. Have they done enough to rejoin that twosome at the top of the division?
It's a great question, and it's going to be difficult. And as you know, you could do this segment with reporters from all 32 NFL teams, and every team thinks they got better in the offseason free agency draft. Everybody's hopeful. Everybody's excited about the coming offseason. But to your point, wow, the two teams that played for the NFC Championship last year are in their division. And so while the Cowboys, obviously they believe they got a little better, and I think they got a little better, there was still such a gap between the Dallas Cowboys and those two football teams, the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, that you have to ask yourself, have they done enough to close the gap? And obviously they'll kick it off in Philadelphia September 4th, and we'll find out.
If the Cowboys are to step forward, could you identify a player or two in your mind that must improve for that team improvement to happen?
Well, obviously the left tackle position, Tyler Guyton, Cowboys first-round pick last year, struggled. Admittedly said, I was embarrassed about my play last year, which, quite honestly, Norm, I think is a good sign in the sense that he acknowledges that, boy, I got to be better. The bad thing is when you say, no, I played okay, and it's like, no, you really didn't. And so, but then he's out of camp. He's been out now and won't get back until probably about the start of the season, and with a knee injury, but he will be back. But boy, of all the people in this training camp, Norm, that needed training camp, I think he was at the top of my list.
Yeah.
That said, there's Nate Thomas, number 71, who was injured last year. He was a rookie draft pick, late round pick for the Cowboys last year, injured in camp. So he's almost like a rookie and a half. But for me, he's been very impressive up to this point. And the Cowboys practiced against the Rams a couple days ago, and he went up against Jared Verse, their outstanding pass rusher. And I thought he held his own. So he'll be a guy to look at. But I guess in answer to your question, I'm really looking, as opposed to individuals, I'm looking at that group of guys, which is the offensive line. Tyler Booker, 12th pick in the draft. Sharpie did at right guard the minute they drafted him. We'll see his development. And it's funny. You can play all you want in the SEC and talk about it's the best college football in the country, which it is. But you get to the NFL and it's a different animal. So, a lot of moving parts on that offensive line for me right now, and that's really going to dictate, can they run the ball and can they keep Dak upright?
Babe, you mentioned Booker, and he's from Alabama, and you mentioned the SEC. And you know what's hard about evaluating players from places like that are spectacular football teams? You don't know which 4 or 5 or 6 guys on that club were bus drivers and which others were merely passengers on a bus being driven by a lot of good players.
Yeah, and when I look at that, Norm, I think you can evaluate the wide receivers. You know, they're kind of out there on the island, so you can evaluate receivers. To me, the tough part is defensively. If I'm a linebacker at Alabama, and I've got all these first-round draft picks in front of me, I can look pretty good at linebacker, running the ball and hitting people. So those are, for me, the tougher guys to evaluate. I think the quarterbacks, quite honestly, are a little difficult to evaluate at these top schools because, you know, you're not under the pressure that other people are under. I know everybody made a lot of fanfare and about Shedeur Sanders and his terrible offensive line at Colorado and all that. Well, we go on and on about did he hold the ball too long and that. Tyler Shough at Louisville. He had no better offensive line. Obviously, second-round pick for the New Orleans Saints this year. I love Tyler Shough, but it's a little more difficult to analyze those guys because do I have great players around me? Do I have 4 seconds to throw the ball? Or am I being forced to make a lot of plays that maybe I wouldn't ordinarily? I think Matt Leinart was, for me, probably a pretty good example. Surrounded by these talented players. Had 2 first-round running backs. He had a first-round receiver. He had a great offensive line. 10th pick in the draft, and he just wasn't that guy. But
yeah,
as a quarterback, you know, you can look pretty good when you got good people around you.
How does this Micah Parsons drama end in your mind?
When does it end?
How does it end?
You know, I think it ends with the Cowboys doing what they always do, is signing their guy late. We've seen it, you know, we saw it in consecutive years. Dak signed literally on the day of the first game of the season. CD Lamb last year have to hold out, got him signed late. This one feels a little bit different, though, does it not, Norm?
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever the war words that were exchanged and the lines that were dug in the sand on those 2 contracts, the way this line in the sand seems to have been dug in. And it amazes me that really the last conversation they had was in March.
And babe, if you have a conversation and you feel you have a deal ironed out, isn't the next thing you do is go to the other room and call the agent?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the part I don't get. You know, this isn't Vince Lombardi where I don't know who the player was. You may know, North, but he walked in and Vince Lombardi did the contract for the Packers back at that time. You know, wore a lot of hats. And player came in and said, you know, I'm not doing my contract. You're going to talk to my agent. Vince Lombardi said, hang on a minute. Went to the back room, came back out about 30 seconds later and said, you and your agent have just been traded to St. Louis. So those days are over. Those days are over. I mean, now, I wish I were talking about the kind of dollars that Micah Parsons is talking about, but I never negotiated anything on my contract. My brother actually is an attorney, and he did all my contracts. I did them all as a player, did them all when I was a TV anchor, did them all from a radio. But I never sat down with anyone to talk money. I just say, tell me when to sign. You know, and he dealt with Bobby Beathard in Washington. That's where I was drafted. I said, just let me know when to go in to sign. And so that the notion that we're not going to talk to the agents, and it's been since March, you know, I don't understand it. But hey, my job is to call the game, Norm, and whoever's out there, Brad Sham and I are going to call the game to the best of our ability.
Babe, I've got a kind of a weird conspiracy theory for you. I'm wondering if the Cowboys might actually want to trade Micah Parsons for a couple of number ones. Here's my thinking. The Cowboys have maneuvered themselves into a terrible cap spot next year. With Micah Parsons perhaps earning another $40 million plus, that will make the cap situation even more fierce. Might they want to trade Parsons for a couple of number ones and use the money they would have given him to perhaps keep people like Pickens and Bland?
Well, it's funny because I didn't think there was any way that Dak would be traded under those circumstances when he wasn't really holding out because he was still practicing and playing. When CD Lamb was holding out, I thought, okay, they're not going to trade him. I keep just that crack in the door open that they could trade Micah. I think a number of things enter into that. He wants to be a leader, but he doesn't go to the spring workouts with the team. So that does not scream leadership. I always remember Sean Lee the one year. Sean had a place in Santa Barbara, which is about 30 minutes away from Oxnard. So Sean Lee flew back to Dallas so that he could be on the team plane coming back to training camp when training camp started in Oxnard, just to be with his teammates. So I think that's the kind of leadership you're looking for, talking about when you're paying top dollar. So is there a possibility that we may find out that Mike has been traded? Yes. Now, what are somebody going to give up from? I know Khalil Mack has kind of been the barometer of, well, he got 2 ones and this, but it was a different era, different salary cap. I shouldn't say different era, but hey, 5 years later, it is a different era in the NFL. But yeah, possibility. I wouldn't be shocked. Let me say that. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Babe, isn't this the last thing in the world a new head coach in the NFL needs, this kind of camp drama?
Well, as you know, there's drama across the NFL. We see Washington, Terry McLaurin. Myles Garrett, remember, wanted to be traded in the offseason, and a week later he signed the richest deal for a defensive player. So obviously there's a lot of negotiation going on. It's back and forth. I mean, who knows where it's going to end up. But I do think the Cowboys will eventually sign Micah. And again, North, just so you know, they're mowing the fields behind me. Probably hear it. And I always remember Jason Garrett was up doing his press conference, which is not but about 30 yards away from where I'm sitting right now. And he was up at the podium. All of a sudden, the guy started the leaf blower. So they had to just shut down. Cowboys PR went running over, hey, cut that thing off. And Jason said, and it always amazes me. We can send a man to the moon and bring him back, but we can't find a leaf blower that doesn't sound like a jet engine taking off. And it's,
Babe, you're going to be 66 years old in December. How much longer do you want to keep doing this?
I am. And, it's probably like most people, Norm, that enjoy their jobs. You want to do it as long as you can. I think athletes feel that way, and I certainly feel that way as a broadcaster, kind of as long as they'll have me. I want to keep doing it. I don't see myself retiring anytime soon. Now, the powers that be may see me retiring. And it's like I always say, people ask me, hey, when did you retire from the NFL? And I make it very clear to them, I did not retire. They retired me. I still wanted to play. I remember Jimmy was the last coach I played for. And, I'll never forget. I go into his office, it's bring your playbook. Now it's you bring your iPad. But go in, he said, Coach Johnson said, hey, just want to thank you for everything you've done. And you've worked hard. I think you're a hell of a quarterback. On and on, just extolling all these great virtues that I had. And he said, but we're going to go in a different direction, quarterback. And so I said, Coach, now are you sure about this? It sounded like a guy you want to keep. I work hard. I'm a good player. And he said, yeah, he got the Jimmy smile. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So now I hope to do it as long as I can.
And finally, babe, let me take you back to 1989, 1990, your 2 final years in the National Football League, and they were with the Dallas Cowboys. Take me back to those 2 years and tell me how close the competition for the starting quarterback job was between you and Troy Aikman.
Well, funny you ask that question, Norm, because before the start of that 89 season, when Troy was a rookie, Jimmy Johnson brought us into a room and we flipped a coin. And quite honestly, I knew I should have called heads, but I called tails, and it came out heads. It pointed at Troy and said, okay, you're starting.
Babe, thank you. It's always wonderful catching up to you. Thanks for everything, and we'll talk to you during the season. Next, if you're interested in NFL picks, college football picks, we've got details for you. In 1993, Bob Samble opened the original Bob's Steak and Chop House on Lemon Avenue. 32 years later, the original Bob still greets you at the original Bob's. And now his sparkling new Bob's in Craig Ranch and McKinney has opened. Same fantastic beef and fresh seafood at these two Bob's, each run by Bob. Bob's Steak and Chop House. Football season's here again. Should you enjoy wagering, I'm again offering my picks of the poll every weekend of college and pro season, beginning with college football's kickoff weekend, August 30th. And the picks are cheap. Just $175 for the picks every weekend through the Super Bowl. And as a bonus, you also get my selections on NCAA basketball tournament games in March. Our record last year, 129 football winners against 99 losers, and 19-11 for the basketball tournament. That's a total record of 148 and 110. If you were a $100 a game player, you showed a profit of $2,700. If you were a $200 player, that's $5,400, and so on. The picks get delivered directly to your email every Friday by around noon Central Time. Again, the cost, $175 for the entire season plus March Madness. Here's how you sign up and pay. Just go to the link that is embedded in this message. For those of you like me who don't have the foggiest idea on go to a link, just email me at norm1310@gmail.com. That's norm1310@gmail.com. And then my stepson, Zach, will get you all fixed up. Okay, let's sign up. Have another terrific season.
And now a word from our title sponsor. Today's episode has been brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire earlier, live better. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House on Lemon in Dallas and in Craig Ranch in McKinney. Bob's, a Dallas tradition for more than 30 years.
If you've enjoyed Just Wondering, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will land in your mailbox early every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. Should you know a sports fan who might like our work, please share our contact information with that person. Just Wondering is technically directed by my wife Mary, who is also occasionally a talent on the show. It's produced by Mike Matern, edited and posted by Ashley Bullington. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering. I'm Norm Hitzges, and know that every day I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitzges, and I'll just be wondering too.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.